Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum and good morning, everybody. So today we will do another topic, a new topic, indices, the first part. Our objective for today's lesson is able to write a number in index form using given base. So the keyword here is this index form. Since this is only the first part, so we will only be looking at 3 laws or rules in order to simplify given expressions. These are the steps that we'll be using today. So before we go into the laws or the rules, we have to revise what index notation is. So for example, here we have repeated multiplication of 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 times 10. So if we want to simplify this and write it as index notation, it will look like this: 10 with index 5. This is what you call the index or indices in plural, and this 10 is what you call base. So if you see 10 with index 5, 10 to the power of 5, then it means there's a repeated multiplication of 10 5 times. So 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. These are the 3 laws that we will be using today. The first law is when it involves multiplication of the same base. So if you see something like this, a power m times a power n, so the base is the same, a. So what we want to do with the indices is to just add, campur saja. So second law is for expression that involves division. So if you see the base is the same, so a divide, so it means you have to subtract the indices. Kalau times, you minus the indices. Kalau times, you plus the indices. Kalau divide, you minus the indices. Okay, and the third law or the zero index law is when you see a to the power of 0, or if you see a number or any variable to the power of 0, it means it equals to 1. So for example, if you see 4 index 0, it means 1. If you see z power 0, it means 1. So for these 2 questions, we'll be using law number 1 to answer. Okay, 3 square times 3 cube. So the question here, simplify each of the following, leaving your answer in index notation. So your answer must be in index notation with a base and an index. So here 3 square times 3 cube. So the base here is 3. And you see the power, the operation is times. So kalau times, what you need to do with the indices is plus. So 2 plus 3. So 2 plus 3 is 5. So that's the final answer. Because we want it to be in index notation, so the answer must be in this form. Okay, let's look at step number 1 to simplify question B. Step number 1, identify the operation. It's important to identify the operation. Okay, kalau sekiranya times, that you have to remember, kalau base-nya the same, you need to plus. Step number 2, identify the base and indices. So the base here is A. Okay, indices 2, 3. Okay, so now here you see there's numbers and there's also unknowns or variables. So if you remember from our algebra, if you see numbers and letters or unknowns, you have to multiply numbers with numbers and unknowns with unknowns. So now let's settle the numbers first. 4 times 3, that's 12. So now let's look at the variable a, base a, base a. So you can just use this law. A, since this is multiplication, so you add the indices. 2 plus 7. 2 plus 7 is 9. So that's the final answer. Okay, question A. Step number 1, identify the operation. So here it is a fraction. Fraction is also means divide. So if you see divide, so it means you need to subtract the indices. So 5, which is the base, 11 minus 1. It's not written here. It's not written here the power, but we already know 5 when it's the index is not written, it means 1. So 5, 11 minus 1 is 10. So that's the final answer. Step number 1, identify the operation. Step number 2, identify the base and indices. Step number 3, choose the correct law to simplify. Okay, since there are numbers, so we settle numbers first. 6 divided by 3, so that's 2. Now, look, the base is the same. A. Okay, A. Now you see the operation here is divide. So kalau divide, you have to subtract the indices. So 6 minus 3. But if you see here, that's a multiplication. Kalau multiplication, we have to plus the indices. Plus 1. So 6 minus 3 is 3 plus 1. Sorry, I forgot the A. Okay. Index 4. That's the final answer. Okay, next one. Okay, we will be using all the 3 laws for these 2 questions. A power 5 times A power, index 0. So A5 times, remember, kalau power 0 ataupun index 0, it means 1. So times 1. So the final answer, when you multiply something by 1, you will get A power 5 or A index 5. Okay, so for this question B, there's one number 4, so we just write it down, and then base n, base n, base n. So we know the base is gonna be n. So now we have to look at the operation. Always look at the operation. So operation here is times, so it means plus, and this is divide, so it means minus the indices. 3 plus 2 minus 5. 4. Okay, 3 plus 2, 5 minus 5, 0. Okay, remember, something that is with index 0 is 1. So 4 times 1. The final answer is 4. It's a bit difficult, but it requires lots of practice. And if you still don't remember the law, you can write it down somewhere for your reference when you're doing your exercise.